Hello everybody, Randy Lanham here, Education Director at the Bluegrass Music Hall of Fame and Museum. I'm tickled to have the mandolin here with me today, and I'm going to be talking about the fundamentals of how to hold it and play it. We're not going to be learning a song today, just learning some of the techniques that go into playing it and holding it correctly. So let's start with our left hand, okay? So when my left hand is holding the neck, I always tell students all the time, even if I'm not even playing, I want to have that left hand on the neck just holding and supporting the instrument. Just a while ago I was sitting here tuning and my strap fell off, and had I not had that mandolin it could have fell to the floor. So I always tell people just to keep a hold on your mandolin. You can't always trust them straps, unfortunately. So anyway, left hand on the neck. When I'm holding my mandolin, when I'm ready to play, I don't want to just hold it like I'm holding a pan or something else. I actually want to hold it. If you look at here, I have my wrist straight. This is the same thing we do for guitar, same thing we do for the fiddle. We want to hold and play with a straightened wrist, which means I don't want to bend my wrist and then lay the neck of the mandolin in the palm of my hand like this. If you do this, you might be able to reach the E string okay. I can't even use my pinky with my wrist bent at all. That pinky will not even move. Can even play on the A. I can get over there, but the further I get on the other strings, the harder it is to reach. So basically, when I have a bent wrist, when I'm palming the neck of that mandolin on my hand and I have that wrist bent, I simply just can't reach. Now watch this. As soon as I straighten that wrist up, watch those fingers come around. Now here it is with my wrist straight. Now look at all the notes that I can reach. Look, even my pinky, I can reach that pinky out there, and I can reach all the notes on the G, the D, the A, and the E, right? So a straight wrist is very important. Way right off the bat, you want to have a straight wrist when you're holding that mandolin. The next thing, where we hold the mandolin, where that neck lays between that thumb and that finger is very important. Because what I tell everybody, a good place to start, where your finger attaches to your hand here, the bottom crease of your finger where it attaches to your hand, put it right here on the corner of your fingerboard. This is the fingerboard right here, okay? All these little silver metal things are called frets. We're going to come back to that later. But this fingerboard here is what I want to talk about. So the bottom crease of my finger is right there at the corner. If I place that there and my wrist is straight and I arch my fingers, look at all the notes I can reach. Now I'm playing that hard G chord, you know, on all four strings, but since my wrist is straight and I'm holding it correctly on the neck and my fingers are arched, look how I can play all of those notes. None of these fingers are touching extra strings. So it's very important, again, straighten your wrist, line up the bottom crease of your finger with the corner of the fingerboard, arch those fingers using the tip to push down. Now if I come in here sideways, a lot of beginners do this. They'll want to come in here sideways and play these notes with the side of their finger like this. They say, what's wrong with that? You can't make the notes as clean and clear when you're playing with the side of your finger. It's always going to sound better with the tip of your finger. You push down better, harder, and it's going to sound better. And I promise you, when you get calluses on your fingers, when you build them up, they won't get sore anymore. At first, obviously, they're going to get sore. But you want to arch that finger and not use the side. And they're like, well, I'm getting a fine sound out of the side of my finger on this E. Well, what happens when you go to the A? Yeah, but look at your E string. Now it's being touched. And the more strings you go over sideways, look, now I'm touching all 8 of my strings with that. If my finger was arched up, it wouldn't be touching those strings underneath of it. You want to be a good mandolin player, you have to get to where that finger is only touching the note that you want it to play, and it's not touching all those other ones. So it's very important, wrist straight, bottom crease of your finger lined up with the corner of that fingerboard, and your fingers arched. And you'll stretch them over time. They might not stretch when you first start, but over time they'll stretch out, and they'll get to where they can arch up and over top of all those other strings. Now, a lot of people, especially if you're a beginner, they ask, what frets do I play with what fingers? First of all, let's count our fingers. When we count our fingers, we go 1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay, let's go through that again. Pointers 1, middles 2, ring finger 3, pinky 4. It's very important to remember those fingers, okay? And the number of those fingers, your teacher will always say first finger, second finger, third finger, or fourth finger. A lot of times they don't say pointer, middle, ring, or pinky. So it's important to kind of learn that 1, 2, 3, and 4. All right, so on our mandolin, like I said earlier, and go back to this, we have this fingerboard and all these frets. Here's how we count those frets. From the top of the mandolin where the tuning keys are, and this is the nut here. The nut's not considered a fret. This is fret number 1, number 2, number 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. We can keep going, but we're not going to. We're just going to go to number 7. So think about it this way. Every finger plays on 2 different frets. Obviously, we'll just start on that the bottom E strings, okay? So if I'm playing the bottom E strings open, if I'm playing an E open, I'm not pushing on anything, right? I'm just strumming that string without even touching it. But in tablature, mandolin tablature, we call that an E string open. We would call this an E1 because it's the E string pushing behind the first fret. We call this an E2, E string pushing behind the second fret. Notice I use my pointer finger on those 2 frets. So open, nothing. 1 with pointer finger, number 1. 2 with pointer finger. So every finger has 2 frets. Let's keep going. Now I'm on the E. I'm on the E third, behind the 3rd fret now. So I'm on an E3 with my middle finger, number 2. I'm on an E4 using my middle finger again. So check it out. They have 2 frets. Pointer finger has 2. 1, 2. Middle finger has 2. 3, 4. And now let's go to an E5 with my ring finger. And the 6, you guessed it, is going to be used with your ring finger as well. Now when I go to a 7, that's when I'm going to use my pinky. So let's go through that one more time. So tablature, first of all, is just the string, that's an E, and whatever fret you're pushing behind. So it's an E open, E1, E2, E3, E4, E5, E6, E7 for the frets, right? And again, notice this. Every finger plays 2 frets except my pinky. We don't need to worry about that. Every finger has 2 frets. So this first finger has 1 and 2. Middle finger has 3, 4. Ring finger has 5, 6. And then pinky has 7. If you don't want to do your pinky to start with, that's okay. It's going to be a while if you're a beginner that you're going to be using your pinky. So if you want to not use that for now, that's totally fine. Most of your notes as a beginner are going to be these notes right here. Very simple. It'll be an E open, E2, E4, or E5. Right? So I have open. E2 is me pushing on the E string behind the 2nd fret. E4, middle finger behind the 4th fret. E5, ring finger behind the 5th fret. Right? And it works the same way on all these other strings. Let's go over to the A strings. But by the way, you definitely want to memorize the names of the strings. That's one of the first things you want to do, that E, A, D, and G string. I almost forgot about that. You definitely want to learn the names of the strings. So we have E, A, D, and G. Let's go back to the A string. We're just going to stay with the E and the A for now. That beginners, typically you're only going to be playing on those strings for a while. Okay, so let's go to the A. We have A open, A1, A2, A3, A4, A5, A6, A7. But the main notes you're going to be using for the longest time is just going to be A open, A2, A4, and A5. Right? So here's a really good practice for you to do to get used to this. Play on the E and the A. Let's try this. What I'm going to do, I'm going to walk up on that E string. So E open, E2, E4, E5, E4, E2, E open. That's a great practice to get in your head the names of this tablature. Let's try that again. It's E open, E2, E4, E5, E4, E2, E open. That gets you used to the tablature, reading tablature, It gets you used to what finger goes where as well. So let's go to the A and do the same thing. We have a open, a 2, a 4, a 5. Let's go back down. A 4, a 2, a open. Right? Do that again. A open, a 2, a 4, a 5, a 4, a 2, a open. Good. So we have a straight wrist. We have that finger lined up on the fingerboard. We have fingers arched. Now you know what fingers to use on what frets. You've even learned how to read the tablature as well. And so I haven't talked about the right hand yet. I almost forgot. Another thing with the left hand, I'm sorry, before I get away from that, relax that left arm. A lot of people, sometimes people are concentrating so hard they'll put that arm up here like this. Man, that'll wear you out. You can relax that left arm and let it hang down here. When I'm playing, if I'm up here like this, man, after about one song, I'm done because I'm wore out. Relax that arm, okay? Let's move over to the right hand a little bit, okay? So when I'm holding my pick, I'm holding the biggest part between my thumb and my pointer finger, and I'm using that tip to go out. If you notice how I'm holding this, when I put my hand down, the pick is going, the tip of the pick goes out towards the string that I'm picking on, that I'm strumming on, rather, right? So see how I'm holding that pick? I like to use a medium pick, and I suggest anybody as a beginner, maybe start with a medium pick. Some people like light, some people like heavy. I think I always recommend everybody to start with a medium gauge pick. It's right in the middle, and the longer you play, and you can mess around with a light pick and a heavy pick, you'll have your own preference, and you can figure out later on which one that you like the best. But I think a medium pick is a good way to start. Now notice when I am strumming these strings, I'm strumming between the bridge and the fingerboard. So right here in the center, that's the sweet spot of your mandolin. That's where you're going to get the best tone out of this mandolin. Not back here by the bridge, not up here on the fingerboard. I'm going to get the best tone right in the center. Could you hear that? Let me go to a deeper string. Let me try that D string. Listen to this back here by the bridge. Look at how I play over the fingerboard. Look how I play right in the center. Hear the tone? The tone's going to be better right in the center between the bridge and the fingerboard. So that's where you want to strum, whether I'm doing chords, chops, or playing a melody. Regardless, I'm playing right here because it's a sweet spot in my mandolin. That's where I'm going to get the best tone. Okay, let's talk about a pick. We talked about how we hold it. We talked about where we strum it. Now let's talk about how we strum on the strings. If I'm playing a melody, lots and lots of people, when I teach people the mandolin or guitar and they're learning tablature and learning songs for the first time, most everybody wants to use their pick strokes and go down for everyone. So say I was playing Bowl of Cabbage Down, an easy version on the E, and it kind of goes like this. Basically, if you was paying attention, you saw my right hand, you saw me going down and up with my pick stroke, so back and forth. Where most everybody always wants to go down. So if I played that same song and I went all down strokes, it would be down, down. When I say down, that's down towards the ground. I'm strumming down towards the ground. That's down, 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 down. But if you think about it, if I'm staying on that same string for a bunch of notes, think about this. Every time I go down, I got to skip it to go down again. And then skip, down, skip it, down. Why not use that upstroke and play it? Now watch this. So instead of down, 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 I'm going to go back and forth with my pick. I'm going to get that E string going downstroke and then upstroke. Watch this. I literally have to work half as much. If every time you go downstroke when you're playing a melody, you skip it and go down again, you're wasting a lot of energy, you're wasting a lot of time, you're wasting smoothness. You can play smoother going back and forth. Now when you're switching strings, that's out the door. If I'm switching from an E to an A, you play whatever feels comfortable. If that's a downstroke, switching strings every time, it does not matter. But if I'm hovering on one string for several notes, I don't want to get in the habit of always going downstroke on every note. I want to bring it back and forth. So I think I've covered everything, and that should give you a good start on the mandolin. I hope that helps.